Close your eyes for a moment and drift with me back through time, past the familiar pages of human memory, past the rise of civilizations, past the age of dinosaurs, even further, beyond the dawn of reptiles and the spread of amphibians. Keep traveling gently until we find ourselves 300 million years ago, deep in the heart of the Carboniferous Period, an age when the Earth itself was wrapped in green cathedrals, forests so vast and unbroken they seemed endless. The air here is thick and heavy, laden with moisture that clings to your skin like a warm, invisible blanket. Mist rises from the ground as if the earth is exhaling softly after a long day. You stand at the edge of a swamp, though it is no ordinary marsh. Before you, towering giants stretch upward, their trunks patterned with scales and diamond-shaped scars. These are not the oaks and pines you know. They are Lycophytes, horsetails, and seed ferns, plants that today linger only in small, humble forms, yet here dominate the landscape with a grandeur that borders on the surreal. The tallest among them, the Lycophytes, grow to heights of 30 or 40 meters, their bark ridged in geometric patterns that catch the slanting light of the sun. Their roots sprawl wide and shallow, anchoring themselves into soggy ground that squelches beneath your feet. Every step is met with the scent of damp earth and the subtle sweetness of decaying leaves. This forest hums not with birdsong, for birds are yet millions of years away, but with the whisper of insects, wings, and the occasional ripple of amphibians slipping into still waters. Above you, sunlight filters down through thick canopies, breaking into pale green beams that scatter across the swamp floor. Dust motes and spores shimmer like golden flecks, hanging in the air as if the forest is breathing its secrets into your lungs. The sound is hushed, reverent, almost like stepping into a cathedral made not of stone and glass, but of living wood and fern fronds. The oxygen here is unlike anything you have ever known. Every breath feels charged, alive, as though the very air itself is singing. For at this time, Earth's atmosphere is thick with oxygen, far more than today. It fuels life into strange extremes, letting insects grow enormous and fires burn with a ferocity you could scarcely imagine. But for now, in this prelude, the forest feels still, a sanctuary where time itself lingers. Beneath your feet, hidden from view, something remarkable is already beginning. The trunks and branches that fall into these waters do not vanish as they might in modern times. The fungi and microbes that would normally feast upon would have not yet mastered the complexity of lignin, the sturdy armor that gives plants their strength. Instead, fallen logs linger, waterlogged and preserved. They sink slowly, layer by layer, forming mats of green memory that will be tucked away beneath silt and sediment. Without knowing it, this forest is giving itself to the future, laying down page after page of a hidden history. In the quiet of this moment, it is difficult to imagine that what you see around you will one day be pressed and buried, transformed into something entirely new, into black seams of stone, the cold deposits that will shape civilizations yet unborn. But for now, it is enough simply to stand in awe, to feel the damp air clinging to your skin, to hear the faint trill of insect wings, to watch the sunlight dapple across the scales of ancient bark. This is the world that built time itself, a world of emerald swamps, endless forests, and quiet transformations, a world that gave more than it knew, gifting its breath, its body, and its memory to the deep earth. It is here, in these forests that built time, that our story of coal begins. Step with me now beyond the forest's edge, into the heart of the swamplands themselves. The Carboniferous world stretches out in all directions, a living ocean of green. From horizon to horizon, the earth is blanketed in forests so dense and so vast that they seem to have no end. Here, in these endless wetlands, the story of coal begins in earnest. The air is humid, thick with the perfume of wet soil and decaying leaves. You can almost taste the moisture as you breathe it in, a sweetness mingled with the faint tang of minerals from the waterlogged ground. The sky is pale, filtered through a haze of mist that rises from still, dark pools, each one a mirror to the towering forms above. It feels as if the world itself is a greenhouse, warm, damp, and alive with growth. Everywhere the forests rise like emerald fortresses. Lycophytes, the great clubmoss trees, lift their strange, scaled trunks skyward. Some soar nearly 40 meters into the air, their crowns bursting into sprays of leaves that resemble the fronds of palms but glow with a harsher, sharper green. At their feet, giant horsetails spread in dense colonies, their stems ribbed and jointed, shooting upward in segmented stalks taller than a man. Between them, seed ferns spread broad, feathery leaves that glisten with dew, each frond a canvas for sunlight and shadow. The canopy above is not as familiar as a modern forest's gentle shade. It is ragged, uneven, punctured with shafts of brilliance where the sun breaks through. Light spears downward in golden beams, cutting across the swamp in radiant stripes. In these beams, spores drift like pollen dust, floating and shimmering as if the very air is alive. You walk slowly, and each step splashes softly into black, peaty water, sending ripples outward that distort the reflections of towering trunks. The stillness here is deceptive. Though the air is quiet, the swamp teems with hidden life. Beneath the water's surface, strange amphibians lurk, their broad heads and watchful eyes breaking the surface before vanishing again with a gentle plop. Along the roots of ancient trees, millipedes longer than your arm ripple across damp bark, their countless legs moving in hypnotic waves. From above, the low hum of wings breaks the silence, dragonflies, but not the delicate ones you know. These are giants, their wingspans stretching wider than a hawk, glinting in metallic blues and greens as they dart gracefully through the shafts of light. Everywhere you turn, the swamp whispers its ancient language, the drip of water from fern fronds, the creak of bark as trunks sway ever so slightly in the damp breeze, the hiss of leaves rubbing together in the canopy. Even the silence between sounds feels alive, as if the forest itself is listening. What strikes you most, however, is the sheer abundance. The growth is relentless, almost overwhelming. Plants press against one another in a crowded, layered world, jostling for space and light. Fallen trunks litter the ground, already half submerged in the muck, yet new shoots push upward, reclaiming every gap. This is a landscape where life does not pause. It surges forward in every direction, unstoppable and unending. And beneath this great, green abundance lies the quiet beginning of something extraordinary. Every branch that falls, every trunk that topples, every mat of leaves that drifts into the water is the start of a process that will outlast millennia. Unlike today, the forest has no efficient way to recycle itself. The fungi that would one day master the art of decomposition have not yet arrived in full. Here, in this deep time, decay is not an ending, but a slow transformation. Wood lingers, layer upon layer, pressed gently into the swamp's embrace. It is almost as if the earth herself is saving these forests, carefully tucking away their memory. You walk through the swamp and feel that every rustling frond, every fallen branch, every shimmer of light upon water is being written into the story of deep time. Someday, far beyond the reach of the Carboniferous, this endless green will be remembered not as living swamp, but as coal, the black stone of buried forests, the ancient embers of emerald swamps without end. For now, though, the swamp breathes on, a living world of endless growth and hushed grandeur. You pause, standing ankle-deep in its waters, and look out across a horizon of green that seems eternal. The forests stretch forever, and time itself feels as though it has slowed to match their patient rhythm. These are the emerald swamps that would one day build the world's hidden fire. But here, in this moment, they are simply alive, vast, beautiful, and without end. The deeper you wander into the Carboniferous swamplands, the more the scale of this world begins to reveal itself. The plants here are not simply vegetation, they are titans, towering above you in living walls of bark and frond. The forest is a kingdom of giants, and you are but a small guest walking in the shadow of their majesty. Ahead, a Lycophyte tree looms, its trunk wide enough that a dozen people holding hands could not encircle it. The bark is strange, unlike the rough textures of modern oaks or maples. It is patterned with diamonds, each scale catching the filtered light so that the whole surface gleams faintly, as though set with countless jewels. The trunk soars skyward, narrowing until it bursts into a crown of green leaves that spread like an open hand against the sky. Each leaf is long and narrow, sharp at the edges, glowing a vibrant emerald. From this height, spores drift downward in lazy spirals, snowflakes of green that settle into the swamp below. Nearby, horsetail trees stand in clustered groves, their segmented stalks ribbed like the columns of some ancient temple. Each joint glistens with moisture, and their feathery branches spread in rings, tier upon tier, climbing the stalk like spiral staircases of delicate green. The air carries the scent of their damp stems, sharp, resinous, and clean. But most impressive of all are the seed ferns, with fronds as long as sails, arching outward in graceful curves. Their leaves are broad and lush, every surface catching droplets of mist that glimmer like pearls in the half-light. Walking beneath them, you feel as though you are moving through a great, vaulted hall, its ceiling woven of leaf and light. In this forest of giants, the canopy is uneven and fragmented. There is no single roof of green, but instead, a shifting mosaic of shadows and beams. Sunlight pours through in sudden shafts, striking trunks with brilliance, then vanishing again into mist. In those fleeting illuminations, the details of the giants come alive. The ridges of bark glowing like bronze, spores tumbling like golden dust, the leaves above trembling as though stirred by unseen hands. The sound of the forest is gentle but persistent. The wind rustles through the crowns, carrying a deep, resonant creak from trunks that sway ever so slightly. Drops of condensation fall from high branches, striking broad leaves below with soft patterns, a rhythm like rain even when the skies are clear. The chorus is slow, measured, timeless, as if the forest speaks in a language of centuries. And yet, even among such grandeur, life gathers in quiet detail. At the base of a lycophyte, amphibians lounge in the shade of its roots, their slick skins glistening in the damp. A salamander-like creature scurries from shadow to shadow, seeking the safety of water. On the bark itself, millipedes stretch out their armored bodies, climbing with deliberate grace, each step echoing the patience of the forest. Dragonflies sweep low between the trunks, their wings thrumming like violins. They pass so close, you can hear the faintest shimmer of their flight. What makes these trees remarkable is not only their size, but their ephemeral nature. Unlike the oaks and redwoods, these giants live fast, grow quickly, and topple easily. Their roots are shallow, spreading wide rather than deep, leaving them vulnerable to collapse in storms or floods. When they fall, they do not vanish. Their bodies remain, waterlogged and preserved in the swamps, stacking one upon another, building the very foundations of tomorrow's coal. Every giant that rises here is destined, sooner or later, to lie in quiet layers beneath the earth, offering itself to the deep passage of time. Walking among them, you feel both awe and humility. The sheer scale of the trees makes you small, but not in a frightening way, in a gentle, grounding way, as though the forest is reminding you that greatness can be quiet, patient, and deeply rooted. These giants are not here to dominate, but to grow, to breathe, to fall, and to give their bodies to the soil of ages. The world you stand in now is alive with green architecture, columns of bark, ceilings of leaf, walls of fern and spore. It is a city of trees, a metropolis of giants, and you are its wandering guest. And though they will one day become stone, blackened and compressed by time, for now they are radiant and alive, rising in endless majesty, true trees of giants, guardians of the swamps that built the bones of the earth's memory. Stand still for a moment, here in the heart of the Carboniferous swamps, and breathe, really breathe. You will notice something remarkable in the very air that fills your lungs. It is richer, heavier, and more alive than anything you have ever known. Every breath feels like drinking, not just air, but something deeper, an ancient vitality woven into the atmosphere itself. This forest, and millions like it, is changing the world's breath. The endless green towers around you are not only builders of shade and shelter, they are alchemists, tirelessly drawing in carbon dioxide and exhaling oxygen in return. Leaf by leaf, frond by frond, day after day, they give themselves to the atmosphere, and the earth responds. The oxygen here is higher than at almost any other time in our planet's history, swelling to levels over a third of the air itself. Close your eyes, feel it. The air feels almost dense, as though it carries weight, and every inhalation charges your blood with vitality. To live in this time is to breathe abundance. It is no wonder, then, that life has seized this opportunity with extravagance. Insects grow massive, fueled by this oxygen-rich gift. Amphibians stretch longer, larger, more powerful than their modern descendants. Even fire behaves differently here, hotter, brighter, more voracious, burning with a ferocity that belongs to a world saturated in breath. But for now, the fires are quiet. What you hear is only the gentle pulse of the forest, the whisper of leaves exchanging gases with the sky, the sigh of wind carrying exhalations from one tree to another. It is as if the entire swamp is a great, breathing body, each plant a lung, each pool of water a reflecting eye, each trunk a rib holding the whole alive. Look around you, the Lycophyte giants stretch upward, their crowns glowing faintly in shafts of light. Fern fronds sway, glittering with beads of moisture, and as they tremble, they release tiny motes, spores, countless billions of them, that drift into the air like pollen, like snow, like breath-given form. The air is full of them, an invisible mist of possibility. Each spore a chance for new life. Each one carried on the breeze, destined to land in shadow, water, or soil. The atmosphere itself feels thick with the forest's promise. And with each breath, the world changes. Slowly, invisibly, the Earth's climate bends to the rhythm of these trees. More oxygen, less carbon, the balance shifts. The air clears, the skies brighten, the seas are cool. Bit by bit, the forests are not merely alive within their swamps. They are architects of the planet itself, reshaping oceans and atmosphere alike. Imagine standing on the bank of a quiet swamp pool. The water reflects the green canopy above, broken only by ripples from an amphibian sliding across the surface. In that reflection, you see yourself breathing alongside the forest. Your breath joins theirs in rhythm, in unity. For a fleeting moment, you and the trees share the same pulse. Their gift becomes your life, their exhalation becomes your inhale, and the earth, vast and patient, leans closer, listening. In this oxygen-rich world, there is a feeling of great generosity. The forests give without hesitation, pouring themselves into the air. They do not know that they are transforming the future. They do not know that their gift will enable strange creatures yet to come, dinosaurs, mammals, even humans. They simply breathe. And in that simple act, the very fabric of the atmosphere is remade. This is the breath of the forest, invisible, powerful, life-giving, eternal. It is the soft exhalation of time itself, lingering in every shaft of sunlight, in every drifting spore, in every quiet inhalation you take. Here, in the emerald swamps of the Carboniferous, the air itself is alive, and the world will never be the same. Beneath the towering trees, where their wide, shallow roots sprawl across the damp ground like the arms of ancient guardians, another world thrives. It is a smaller, quieter kingdom, hidden in shadows and soft mud, a place where creatures creep, crawl, and flutter in the hush of green twilight. To walk here is to step into a realm of subtleties, where life whispers instead of roars. The roots themselves create secret passageways, arching over pools and weaving through the soil. Between them, water collects in dark puddles, their surfaces dotted with floating fronds of fern and strands of algae. The air is cooler here, the canopy above dimmed by the dense spread of leaves. Mist curls close to the ground, and the scents are earthy and rich, peat, moss, the tang of slow decay. A ripple breaks the surface of a shallow pool. From beneath the water, a broad-headed amphibian rises, its eyes wide and golden, glinting faintly in the filtered light. Its body is thick, sturdy, with slick, glistening skin mottled in greens and browns that blend with the swamp around it. With a slow movement, it clambers onto a root, its webbed feet gripping the damp bark. It pauses, perfectly still, watching, as if listening to the breathing of the forest itself. Nearby, a shape shifts in the undergrowth. At first, it seems like a fallen branch, until it moves with a ripple of countless legs. It is Arthropleura, the great millipede, stretching longer than a human is tall. Its armored plates gleam with a dark sheen, catching the shafts of sunlight that slip between the trunks. It moves with surprising grace for its size, its body flowing like a living ribbon across the swamp floor. The sound it makes is faint but constant, a rustling whisper, the quiet scrape of many feet against bark and soil. Overhead, the air stirs. A low hum builds, soft but insistent. Then, with a flicker of light, a shadow sweeps past, a dragonfly, but one far larger than any you know. Its wings stretch wider than a raven, shimmering in iridescent hues of sapphire and emerald. Each beat of its wings thrums in the air like the low hum of strings. It hovers, tilting its great multifaceted eyes toward the ground before darting away in a blur of color. For a moment, the beam of light it passes through glitters with a rainbow of fractured spores, disturbed by its sudden flight. Insects are everywhere here, filling the shadows with motion. Mayflies swarm in golden clouds above the pools, their delicate wings catching the sun like shards of glass. Beetles scuttle through moss carpets, their shells shining like polished stone. Delicate lacewings flutter in the dappled beams, their fragile forms trembling with each breath of the swamp breeze. Each creature adds its note to the quiet chorus of the undergrowth. And yet, it is not only insects and amphibians who share these roots. A new experiment in life is beginning to stir. Among the shadows, small reptiles scuttle, their scales catching faint light as they slip from stone to water to fern. They are different from their amphibian kin, carrying their future within themselves in eggs with protective shells that can endure dry air. Here at the feet of the great trees, you are witnessing a quiet revolution, the first steps of a lineage that will one day walk boldly across deserts, plains, and mountains. The roots of these giants hold more than soil, they cradle worlds. Amphibians cooling in shaded pools, millipedes rustling through moss, dragonflies blazing like jeweled sparks, and reptiles carving out their fragile beginnings. Each is small compared to the towering trees above, yet together they weave the undersong of the Carboniferous. Kneel here among the roots, and you will feel it. The swamp is alive not only in towering trunks and endless leaves, but in the countless small movements below. Life is busy here, endlessly curious, endlessly patient. Every scrape of millipede legs, every ripple of amphibian skin, every shimmer of dragonfly wings tells a story of survival, adaptation, and quiet resilience. This is the world among the roots, hidden, intricate, alive. A world that hums softly beneath the grandeur of the giants, whispering of futures yet to come, all while resting in the embrace of the forest's vast, breathing body. High above, the crowns of the Lycophytes and seed ferns stretch toward the sun, spreading their fronds like vast green sails. They catch the light, drink in the warmth, and exhale life into the air. But even the tallest giants must shed what they no longer need. Here, in the endless swamp forests, the cycle of growth and release is constant, a quiet rhythm that turns the canopy into a living snowfall of leaves, bark, and branches. The sound begins faintly, a gentle crackle like rain before a storm. A leaf loosens from its stem, quivering in the humid air before drifting downward, spiraling lazily between shafts of golden light. It lands softly on a broad frond below, bouncing once before settling still. Then another follows, and another, until the air itself seems alive with falling greens and browns, each one tumbling in its own dance, each one adding its note to the forest's quiet song. The swamp floor is never bare. Every day, countless fragments fall, fern leaves with delicate veins, horsetail segments that snap like brittle reeds, thick bark scales from lycophyte trunks, and sometimes whole branches heavy with moisture. They gather layer upon layer, carpeting the ground in a mosaic of textures. Walking here is like stepping on memory itself, each stride cushioned by the soft remains of what once reached for the sky. And yet something curious happens in this world. In the forests of today, fallen leaves vanish quickly, consumed by fungi and microbes that recycle them into soil. But here, in this ancient age, much of the forest's armor, its lignin, the tough scaffolding that gives wood its strength, remains untouched. The small decomposers of the Carboniferous have not yet mastered this puzzle. They nibble at the edges, breaking down softer tissues, but the wood itself lingers. So the layers build, slowly, steadily, year after year, century after century. Mats of leaves are pressed into pools of dark water, where oxygen is scarce, slowing decay to a crawl. Fallen trunks sink beneath the still surfaces, their bark preserved, their shapes distorted by the murky depths. Over time, the forest floor becomes a thick, spongy bed of green memory, compressed under its own abundance. Stand still, and you can almost hear it, the soft sigh of leaves drifting down, the muted splash of branches sinking into water, the whisper of time weaving itself into the ground. It is not a cycle that ends quickly. Instead, it stretches across ages, patient and deliberate, as though the earth herself is carefully tucking each fallen fragment into a hidden vault. From this cycle, something extraordinary will be born. Each leaf, each branch, each fallen tree is a contribution to the slow alchemy that will transform living matter into fossil fuel. Though no eye of this time can see it, though no creature of the swamp can imagine it, these quiet fallings are the first steps in creating the black seams of coal that will one day power civilizations. But here now in the Carboniferous, it is simply a forest breathing, growing, shedding, and layering itself upon itself. The cycle is endless, gentle, and profoundly cozy, like a great blanket of green continually being woven, unraveled, and rewoven, only to sink softly into the watery embrace of the swamps. As you stand beneath the towering trees, you realize every drifting leaf is a story, every fallen branch a memory. And together, they are writing the chapters of Earth's deep time, quietly, patiently, one soft descent at a time. Follow the leaves as they drift downward, tumbling softly through the shafts of golden light. They settle into pools and channels where the swamp holds its secrets in still waters dark as glass. Here beneath the canopy, the forest surrenders to silence. Step closer, and the surface trembles gently with your presence, but soon it grows calm again, reflecting the towering trees above as though nothing at all stirs beneath. The water is slow, almost stagnant, thick with tannins that stain it the color of tea. Shafts of light pierce the surface only shallowly before fading into dimness. Beneath that dim veil lies a world of half-seen shapes, fallen branches, logs twisted and softened, mats of leaves packed into layers. In the quiet gloom, they sink together, overlapping like pages in a book that no one yet knows how to read. There is little sound here, no rushing streams, no tumbling rivers, only the faint lap of water against bark and the occasional soft ripple of an amphibian's passage. It is a silence not of emptiness, but of patience, of time holding its breath. The forest above hums with life, but here in these pools everything seems to pause. The water takes what is offered, leaves, trunks, spores, entire trees, and lays them gently down, covering them with silt and secrecy. Kneel at the edge, and you might glimpse it, a branch newly fallen, its bark still pale and rough, slowly darkening as water seeps into it. Around it, older wood lies beneath, softened, pressed flat, its patterns blurred by years of burial. Below that, more still, stacked deeper, hidden beneath sediment. You cannot tell where the present ends and the past begins. All is one continuum of quiet sinking. Modern forests recycle themselves quickly. Fungi break down lignin, returning wood to soil in a matter of years. But here, in this ancient world, that alchemy does not yet exist. The waterlogged silence preserves what it receives. Instead of vanishing, the forest is layered, generation upon generation of growth pressed down into the mud, waiting. Imagine listening closely. The sound is almost imperceptible. The faint hiss of air bubbles escaping from a submerged trunk, the soft sigh of leaves settling one upon another, the muffled echo of rain above rippling across the surface. These are the sounds of patience, of slowness, of deep time at work. Creatures glide in this world too, though quietly. Long-bodied amphibians slip between roots, their movements stirring only the thinnest wake. Small fish dart in sudden flashes before disappearing again into the murk. Insects skim the surface, their legs dimpling the water in concentric rings. But all is subdued, muted, as if life itself respects the gravity of this still place. What you are witnessing is the beginning of transformation, not in a sudden burst, but in a whisper that stretches across eons. These layers of plant matter, preserved in silence, will be pressed ever deeper, ever tighter. Heat and pressure will one day reshape them into peat, into lignite, into coal. But for now, they lie here untouched, tucked into the earth's quiet hands, sleeping beneath the water's embrace. The forest above breathes in light and exhales air. The swamp floor receives its cast-offs, weaving them into time's hidden fabric, and the waters here, still and dark, are keepers of memory. Into their silence falls every leaf, every branch, every trunk. Into their silence sinks the very heartbeat of the Carboniferous. Stand with me at the edge of this pool. Listen, breathe, feel the hush of a world that knows no haste. These waters are more than stagnant, they are sacred, for within their depths, the green abundance of the forest is transformed into the raw history of the earth. It is here, in this waterlogged silence, that tomorrow's story begins to take shape. Beneath the still waters of the swamp, the fallen leaves, the trunks, the branches, all begin their quiet journey downward. Layer after layer, year upon year, they gather and rest in patient silence. But the story does not end here, in the dim pools of the Carboniferous. The earth is always at work, always weaving, always shaping. And so begins the long, gentle burial, the folding of green memory into the hands of time. Picture the scene. A mat of leaves lies pressed against the swamp floor, soft and dark. Above it, another year of forest life unfolds. New trees rise, new fronds unfurl, new branches fall. Storms sweep across the wetlands, pulling trunks into the water. Floods deposit silts and sands, smothering the organic mats. And so, in endless repetition, the swamp writes its layered story. Growth, fall, burial, growth, fall, burial. The forest breathes above, while below, its remnants are tucked into shadow. At first, these layers are loose and spongy. You could press your hand into them and feel them give, damp and fragrant with peat. But over time, as more and more matter is added, the weight above begins to tell. Each fallen tree presses against the one beneath it, each mat of leaves grows heavier under the burden of new generations. Slowly, the forest is compacted into itself, its soft body squeezed and reshaped by the patient hand of gravity. Sediments arrive too, fine clays, silts and sands carried in by swollen rivers or by storms that sweep across the land. They cover the peat, sealing it off from the air, pressing down like a protective quilt. Oxygen, the very gift the forest breathed into the sky, is locked away from its fallen body, leaving it to rest in quiet darkness. Without oxygen, decay halts and the burial continues. This is no hurried transformation. It is the kind of change that does not rush, that does not clamor for attention. It is the kind of change that requires patience measured not in years or centuries, but in millions upon millions of years. The weight of time is the true artisan here. Imagine the slow passage. The surface forest rises and falls, while beneath the buried layers sink deeper. Pressure increases, the temperature warms, water is squeezed out, forced into cracks and channels, carrying away the last whispers of the swamp's freshness. The organic material darkens, densifies, and takes on the sheen of something new. Peat, the first stage of this hidden alchemy, begins to form. You cannot see it from above, standing ankle-deep in the waterlogged silence, but if you could peel back the layers of the earth, you would witness an astonishing sight. Stacks of ancient forests, one atop another, pressed into blackened seams that grow thicker and deeper with every passing age. Each seam is a memory, a preserved echo of the emerald swamps that once stretched without end. Think of the patience required. Millions of years passing, storms reshaping landscapes, continents shifting slowly across the globe, seas rising and falling. Through it all, the buried forests remain, deepening, thickening, turning slowly into coal. The earth is not hurried, not careless. She is deliberate, precise, tucking these forests away as if keeping a promise for the future. Burial in time is not an ending, but a transformation. It is the quiet folding of the living world into the earth's memory, where it waits, dark and silent, for the ages to come. And as you stand here in the Carboniferous, you know that every leaf drifting past your feet, every branch sinking beneath the water, is the beginning of a story that will outlast empires, continents, even entire species. Beneath you, beneath the swamps, the earth is writing with ink made of forests. She is composing, line by line, the story of coal, and though the characters may never know it, their burial is not a loss, but a legacy pressed deep into the bedrock of time. Beneath the swamps, below the roots and the layers of fallen leaves, deeper still than the waterlogged mats of trunks and fronds, a different world begins to stir. The silence here is profound. No amphibians swim in this darkness, no dragonflies dart through the air, no millipedes ripple their armored bodies across the ground. Instead, there is only weight, only pressure, only the slow rising warmth of the earth's embrace. For the buried forests do not simply rest, they are changing. Imagine the forest you once walked through, the Lycophytes rising like emerald pillars, the horsetails clustered like cathedral spires, the broad ferns spreading their feathered fronds. Now picture those same giants pressed deep into the earth, stacked one atop another, their one-screen bodies darkened, crushed, and hidden away. The air they once breathed into the sky is gone, sealed out by silt and sediment. What remains is matter without breath, pressed tight in the clasp of time. At first, this matter is peat, spongy, fibrous, still holding whispers of what it once was. Touch it, and you can feel the veins of leaves, the softened textures of bark, the faint ghost of wood. It smells rich and earthy, heavy with the memory of life. But as more layers fall above, as rivers wash in sediments, as continents shift and press, the peat is driven downward. The deeper it sinks, the greater the pressure becomes. And with pressure comes heat. The warmth of the earth is always there, rising gently from its molten heart. In the shallow swamps, you do not feel it, but beneath, as the buried forests sink into the crust, that warmth becomes a quiet alchemist. Molecules shift, bonds break, water is pressed out. The spongy peat compresses, hardens, and begins to shine with a new density. It becomes lignite, brown coal, dark, soft, still showing traces of leaves and wood, but already far from what it once was. Sink deeper and the process continues. More heat, more weight, more pressure. The lignite hardens further, its texture smoothing, its carbon content rising. It becomes bituminous coal, black, glossy, heavy in the hand, the first stage of true stone. Here, the memory of the forest is almost invisible, locked away in a form that no longer looks like a plant or tree. Instead, it is energy itself, compressed into gleaming seams. And deeper still, under even greater forces, it transforms once more. Anthracite, hard, bright and pure, a stone that burns hotter, longer, cleaner than any before. At this stage, the forests of the Carboniferous have been fully remade by Earth's patient artistry. What was once a green canopy and soft swamp floor is now a crystalline ember, a hidden fire lying in wait beneath mountains and valleys. Think of the scale of this alchemy. Millions of years of forests, entire continents worth of green abundance pressed into stone beneath the Earth's crust. The warmth you feel rising through coal in the human hearth, in the glow of a single ember, is not of the present. It is ancient sunlight, captured in leaves, buried in swamps, and then released after hundreds of millions of years of transformation. Here in this deep, unseen world, the Earth becomes an artist and a keeper. With heat and pressure as her tools, she transforms forests into fuel, light into shadow, life into stone. The cradle of the Carboniferous forests is not only above in the canopy, but also below, where their buried bodies are reshaped into the foundation of ages. It is a process you cannot watch in real time. It is too slow, too patient. Yet if you could listen closely, if you could press your ear to the ground and hear the whisper of molecules, you might notice the faint crackle of bonds reshaping, the soft murmur of carbon gathering into denser forms, the sigh of water pressed away into the rock. It is the quietest of transformations, yet one of the most profound. The swamps above are alive with insects, amphibians, reptiles and trees, but beneath, far below, another world hums in stillness. A world where forests become memory, where time cooks life into fuel, where the heat beneath the cradle of forests performs its endless, invisible work. And in this hidden workshop of the earth, the forests continue their journey, not in leaves and fronds, but in seams of stone, waiting for a distant future they cannot imagine. Lift your face to the breeze and draw in a breath. It is not like the air you know today. It is thicker, richer, charged with a brilliance that seems almost tangible. Each inhalation fills your lungs with vitality, and for a moment you feel lighter, more alive, as though you could run farther, leap higher, or even take to the skis like the dragonflies that shimmer above. This is no illusion. The world of the Carboniferous is truly transformed. Oxygen saturates the atmosphere in abundance unseen in any other era. More than a third of the very air itself is this invisible, life-giving element. Every leaf that spreads wide, every fern frond unfurled, every towering lycophyte that pushes toward the sun contributes to this grand exhalation. The forests breathe, and the planet swells with oxygen. The consequences ripple outward into every corner of life. Creatures grow larger than imagination seems to allow. Above the swamp pools, dragonflies drift, their wings spanning over 2 feet. Their gossamer membranes shimmer like stained glass as they glide on air that is dense enough to hold them aloft with ease. Their shadows stretch across the water, flickering with the light of their passing. On the forest floor, shadows lengthen with other giants of a quieter kind. Arthropleura, the enormous millipede, ripples across the damp ground, stretching longer than a human is tall. Its body is armored in plates of black and bronze, glinting under shafts of sunlight. It moves slowly, deliberately, carrying itself with the steady rhythm of countless legs. In today's world, such size could not be sustained. But here, in oxygen-rich air, every cell breathes more easily and every body grows more boldly. Even amphibians take advantage of this bounty. Broad-headed creatures sprawl in the mud, their bodies thick and strong, feeding on insects and small fish. They lift themselves on sturdy limbs, gazing across the swamp with golden eyes. Some venture farther from the water than ever before, exploring mossy ground in search of prey. Their bodies, too, are fueled by this abundance, each breath giving them the strength to stride where their ancestors only crawled. But the oxygen's power is not always gentle. It carries a hidden danger as well. Fires, when they spark, burn with a ferocity far beyond what you know. A bolt of lightning can set entire stretches of forest ablaze, the flames leaping high into the canopy, consuming ferns and lycophytes alike. In the flickering glow, spores burst like sparks, and the night sky is painted orange. The same gift that allows insects to soar and creatures to swell also fuels infernos that rage with unstoppable hunger. Yet even here, in this precarious balance, the forests persist. They regrow, they spread, they breathe again. For every fire that sweeps through, new shoots rise from the damp soil, reclaiming the ground. The cycle of growth and release continues, and the oxygen remains, saturating the air, reshaping the world in silence. Stand in this place, and you can feel the difference not only in your lungs, but in your very skin. The air seems to hum, as though charged with energy. Insects buzz louder, their wings thrumming like strings plucked on some invisible instrument. Amphibians croak more deeply, their calls carrying far through the dense air. Even the still moments feel heavy, weighted by the breath of a planet transformed. It is a world saturated in oxygen, a world lush and abundant, but also wild and unpredictable. Every ember of fire, every giant dragonfly, every towering tree is a direct consequence of this invisible abundance. The air is not just atmosphere, it is the lifeblood of the Carboniferous, a silent architect shaping the creatures, the forests, and the future. And as you breathe in this ancient air, you realize this invisible gift, so easily overlooked, is the true heartbeat of the age. The world is saturated, overflowing, alive. Every breath is a reminder of the forest's generosity, and every spark of fire, every shimmering wing, is proof of the power hidden in the sky. Beneath the canopy of emerald towers, life stirs at the water's edge. Pools glimmer faintly in the filtered light, their surfaces broken by ripples as broad-bodied amphibians rise for air. They blink golden eyes, their skin glistening in shades of mottled green and brown, each one camouflaged against the swamp's damp mosaic of roots and ferns. These creatures are the quiet rulers of this world, bridging the boundary between water and land, between the old and the new. The amphibians of the Carboniferous are not small, timid forms as you might imagine. Some stretch the length of a child, others rival crocodiles in their size and power. They lounge in shallow pools, jaws agape, waiting for insects to skim too close to the surface. A sudden snap, a splash, and the dragonfly's shimmer is gone, folded into the amphibian's hungry belly. Their lives are patient, their movements deliberate, as though they carry within themselves the steady rhythm of the swamp. On cool evenings, their calls echo across the wetlands, a chorus of low croaks and guttural bellows that rise into the misty air, blending with the sigh of the forest leaves. It is the music of transition, a song of creatures that are neither fully bound to water nor entirely free of it. Amphibians thrive here, in this world rich with oxygen and endless pools, but their story does not end in these shallows. For among them, in the leaf litter and damp moss, new forms are stirring. Small, scaled bodies slip quietly between roots, moving with quicker steps, sharper purpose. Their skin does not glisten with dampness, but shines with dry, protective scales. They carry their world within them in a remarkable innovation, the amniotic egg. Shelled and secure, it shields the fragile spark of life from drying air, freeing these pioneers from the swamp's constant grasp. These are the first reptiles, small, lizard-like, unassuming to the eye, yet bearing within them a revolution that will echo through time. No longer do they need to return to the water to breed. Their eggs can rest in the undergrowth, nestled in moss or tucked beneath fallen leaves, safe from the suffocating demands of the swamp. In this simple change, a door has opened to futures unimaginable. The age of reptiles, the rise of dinosaurs, the eventual spread of mammals, even the story of humankind. But here in the Carboniferous, they are still small, still quiet. They skitter across damp soil, their claws digging into soft peat. Their scales glint faintly as beams of sunlight pierce the canopy. They pause, lifting their heads to taste the air with flicking tongues, their eyes sharp and curious. At the base of a giant lycophyte, one reptile rests motionless, blending into the pattern of bark, watching as insects pass by. A quick strike, and the meal is taken. Side by side, amphibians and reptiles share the forest floor. Amphibians dominate the waterways, their bodies well suited to the still pools and winding streams. Reptiles creep along the drier patches, venturing farther from the swamp, claiming spaces that amphibians cannot. Together, they weave a new layer into the Carboniferous tapestry. Imagine standing quietly at the edge of a swamp pool. To your left, amphibians bask half-submerged in the water, their heavy forms silent but alert. To your right, a small reptile darts across a log, its scales flashing in the dappled light. Between them lies a story of transition, a world slowly shifting from one kind of dominion to another, from creatures bound to the water to those who will roam deserts, mountains, and plains. The forests provide the stage, the oxygen fuels the breath, and the swamps offer sanctuary. But it is these creatures, amphibians and reptiles, that embody the spirit of change. They are the living bridge between past and future, carrying forward the lessons of water while daring to step boldly onto land. In the hush of the Carboniferous, you realize that this place is not only a forest of giants and a world of oxygen. It is also a cradle of pioneers. Amphibians rest content in their watery realms, but reptiles carry the promise of what is to come. Together, they have found their place, and in doing so, they prepare the earth for stories still unwritten. Even in a world so alive with dragonflies and amphibians, with reptiles and millipedes, there are moments when the swamp grows still, moments when sound fades and the air itself feels heavy, as if time has chosen to pause. It is in this stillness that the true character of the Carboniferous reveals itself, not as noise and motion, but as patience and quiet abundance. Picture yourself standing knee-deep in a shallow pool at dusk. The canopy above is dim now, painted in shades of green shadow and soft gold as the sun drifts low. Shafts of light filter weakly through the ferns, scattering across the water like ribbons. The surface is so smooth it reflects the trunks above with the precision of a mirror, broken only by the occasional ripple of an insect skating across it or the gentle plop of a frog-like amphibian disappearing beneath. The air is thick, unmoving. It clings to your skin like warm silk, heavy with the smell of moss, peat, and damp wood. Each breath tastes faintly sweet, like earth after rain, carrying the memory of countless plants that exhaled their gift into the sky. The silence is profound, broken only by the faint trickle of distant water and the low creak of a tree shifting under its own great weight. You wait, and slowly your senses adjust. What first seemed still begins to reveal itself. A faint shimmer as spores drift down through the air, their descent so slow they seem suspended. The delicate ripple of a mayfly swarm rising above the water, their bodies flashing gold as they catch the last rays of the sinking sun. The tiniest sound of wings, so soft it is more vibration than noise, as a beetle settles onto a broad fern leaf nearby. The swamp is not truly silent. It is breathing, pulsing, alive, but it is so gentle, so patient, that it feels like stillness. At the base of a lycophyte, a root arches above the water, forming a small archway. Beneath it, shadows gather, dark and secret. From within, a salamander-like creature emerges, blinking slowly as its body ripples forward into the pool. Its movements make barely a sound, only the faintest stir of water as it slips away. Then, silence again. Above, a dragonfly hangs motionless in the air, its wings quivering only slightly to hold its place. The light catches its body, turning it into a flickering ember against the canopy. Then it darts away, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. The swamp accepts its absence without fuss, returning at once to its calm rhythm. The stillness here is not emptiness. It is fullness so deep and complete that it no longer needs to announce itself. It is life at rest, life unhurried, life content to let the hours slip by like water through roots. The swamp does not demand attention, it invites it. It does not roar, it whispers, coaxing you to listen more closely, to notice the tiny details, to sink into its rhythm. You realize that this is how the swamp creates memory. By slowing time, by holding matter in its quiet pools, by refusing to decay at the pace of modern forests. In its stillness, the swamp is writing, pressing each leaf and branch into the pages of the earth's hidden book. What seems like silence is actually an inscription. What feels like stillness is the beginning of transformation. Stand a while longer. Watch the reflections, breathe the thickened air, listen to the almost silence that hums with subtle life. The stillness of the swamps is not an absence, it is a presence, one vast and patient, as though the earth herself has drawn a long, quiet breath and is holding it in eternal reverence. Beneath the quiet swamps, below the layers of roots and silt, something extraordinary is happening, though no creature of this age can see it, and no sound carries its secret. It is a process that unfolds in silence, in darkness, in patience measured not in days or seasons, but in millions of years. This is the hidden alchemy of the earth, the birth of coal. Imagine the forest you've walked through, The towering Lycophytes, the feathered seed ferns, the horsetails rising like pillars. They live, they breathe, they fall. Their trunks topple, their fronds sink, their branches drift into pools. But here, unlike in the modern world, decay halts before it can be consumed. The water smothers oxygen, the fungi lack the tools to break lignin's armor, and so the forest lingers in the swamp's embrace. Layer upon layer, year upon year, the green abundance is stacked, pressed, and hidden away. At first it is peat, soft, spongy mats of half-decayed plants, heavy with water, still recognizable as wood and leaf if you were to touch it. But as centuries pass into millennia, as floods carry in silts and sands to cover it, as new forests rise above and fall again, the peat is buried deeper. The weight grows, the pressure builds, and the heat of the earth rises to meet it. Slowly, quietly, molecules shift. The soft textures are lost, the colors darken. What was once vibrant green becomes brown, then black. Peat transforms into lignite, brown coal, still soft, still holding whispers of its origins, but already reshaped by time's patient hand. Buried deeper still, the lignite hardens, becoming denser, shinier. It becomes bituminous coal, gleaming black seams that cut through the rock like ribbons of midnight. And if pressed farther still, under even greater pressure, it transforms again into anthracite, the hardest, brightest, purest form of coal, shimmering like polished obsidian. All of this happens unseen. There are no flames, no noise, no sudden sparks. Only time, only weight, only the slow, patient breath of the earth working her art. Coal is not born in fire, but in silence, an ember of sunlight captured in leaves, hidden and slowly transformed into stone. If you could hold a lump of coal in your hand here in the Carboniferous, it would look like nothing more than black rock. But in truth, it is something astonishing. Inside it lies a forest, compressed and folded into itself. Each seam of coal is a memory of sunlight captured by trees, a memory of oxygen exhaled into the sky, a memory of swamps that once stretched without end. It is sunlight turned into stone, life turned into energy, forest turned into fuel. The creatures of this age cannot know what lies beneath their feet. The dragonflies dart through air thick with oxygen, unaware that their shadows pass over buried ancestors. The amphibians slide into pools, never realizing that the roots beneath them are slowly becoming seams of black stone. The reptiles scuttle across trunks, their claws scratching over the very ground where coal is being born. But you, standing here in imagination, can sense it. Beneath the hush of the swamp, beneath the still waters and the endless layers, the earth is keeping a secret. She is gathering the forests, tucking them away, reshaping them into something new, a gift for futures yet unborn, a hidden fire waiting in the dark. Coal's secret birth is not just a story of plants and pressure. It is a story of time itself, folded neatly into stone, a story of patience, of transformation, of the quietest alchemy. It is the reminder that even in stillness, even in silence, the earth is always at work, shaping wonders that no eye can see. The Carboniferous world is not a single forest, nor a single swamp, nor even a single moment in time. It is an age where the earth covers itself in endless green, an age that repeats itself with a rhythm so vast it can only be measured in millions of years. These are the ages of accumulation, when one forest does not simply live and die, but becomes the foundation for countless others above it, building a layered memory deeper and deeper into the earth. Imagine the cycle. A swamp spreads across lowlands, fed by rains and rivers. Lycophytes soar skyward, their trunks etched in diamond patterns, their crowns bursting with leaves that scatter spores like dust into the wind. Ferns and horsetails crowd the floor, weaving a dense undergrowth. For centuries, this forest has grown, flourished, and breathed. Then storms come, floodwaters rise, trees topple. The canopy falls into itself, sinking beneath dark pools. A silence follows, as sediments wash in to cover the remains. And then above the burial, a new forest rises. Shoots push through silt, fronds unfurl into the sunlight, trunks climb again toward the sky. The cycle begins anew. Growth, fall, burial, growth, fall, burial. Each generation of forest adds another layer to the earth's hidden book. Across millions of years, the layers become countless. Imagine slicing through the earth like a page of stone and seeing them, strata stacked one upon another, seams of black coal pressed between bands of sandstone and shale. Each seam a chapter of a forest long vanished. Each one a testimony to abundance, to persistence, to the unbroken rhythm of life. Stand within this time and you would never notice it happening. To the dragonflies humming overhead, the forests are eternal. To the amphibians crouched in pools, the swamps are endless. To the reptiles scuttling through moss, the undergrowth will never cease. But step back, step far, far back, and the pattern reveals itself. Forests are not eternal. They are waves, rising and falling in the tides of geologic time. And with each wave, the earth grows richer in memory. Consider the scale. Hundreds of millions of tons of plant matter accumulate, compressed, buried, sealed away. Every year adds its thread, every century weaves a thicker cloth, every million years presses the fabric tighter until it shines with the density of coal. What you see as black stone in the human present is nothing less than ages upon ages of ancient sunlight, stored in the patient vault of the earth. There is a coziness in this thought, that nothing is wasted, that every fallen leaf, every toppled trunk, every hushed swamp pool has its place in the greater story. The forests do not vanish, they give themselves to time. They surrender to the earth's embrace, knowing that one day, far beyond their own age, their gift will be felt again. This is the quiet miracle of accumulation, that through repetition, through cycles, through the endless rise and fall of green life, the earth builds something greater than any single forest could ever be. A treasury of energy, a memory of abundance, a library written not in ink, but in carbon and stone. When you stand in the Carboniferous and look out across its endless swamps, you see a living world. But beneath your feet, unseen, time is stacking chapters. Each forest that grows here does not end, it joins the others, layer upon layer, seam upon seam, becoming part of the ages of accumulation. Deep beneath the surface of the earth, hidden from the eyes of every creature that roams the Carboniferous forests, entire libraries of stone are being written. They are not carved by hand, nor inked with words, but pressed patiently by weight, heat, and time. These libraries are the coal measures, great expanses of rock strata rich with seams of coal, each one a record of forests long vanished. Imagine slicing through the crust like the pages of a book. You would see layers upon layers, ribbons of black pressed between pale bands of sandstone and shale. Each seam is a chapter, written not in letters, but in carbon, the dense remains of towering Lycophytes, broad fronds, and endless mats of horsetails. Together they form volumes of history, stretching across continents, connecting distant lands with a shared story of green abundance turned to stone. Walk through a modern coalfield, and the scale becomes staggering. Some seams are only inches thick, a delicate trace of a forest that once lived and died. Others stretch for meters, entire forests layered into a single ribbon of black. And these seams are not scattered randomly, they follow one another in rhythmic succession, separated by sediments that tell of floods, shifting rivers, and quiet intervals between. Forest after forest, swamp after swamp, each pressed into memory until the Earth's crust is crowded with their stories. Geologists, millions of years later, would name this great record the coal measures, marveling at their breadth. In Europe, they stretch across Britain, Germany, and Belgium, weaving beneath hills and valleys. In North America, they lace through the Appalachian Basin, running for hundreds of miles. In Asia, they spread beneath China's mountains and plains. What was once swamp and forest in the Carboniferous has become a global archive, preserved in seams of black stone. Here in imagination, you can see them not as miners would, cut into jagged blocks and carted away, but as they truly are, layers of ancient life, pressed flat and shining, still holding the faint ghost of bark patterns, the outlines of leaves, the impressions of roots. If you were to run your hand across a seam, you might trace the shape of a fern that once caught sunlight 300 million years ago, its memory etched forever into the stone. The coal measures are not merely resources, they are chronicles. Each seam speaks of a time when the Earth's atmosphere swelled with oxygen, when insects grew large and amphibians thrived, when reptiles first crept across mossy banks. They tell of fires that swept forests, floods that carried sediments, and swamps that held their breath in stillness. To walk through them is to walk through time itself, to pass among chapters written by forests and bound by the patience of the earth. Above the ground, the Carboniferous swamps breathe on, unaware of the legacy they are building. Amphibians croak in shaded pools, dragonflies shimmer through shafts of light, millipedes ripple over damp bark. But below, their world is being preserved in secret. Every toppled tree, Every buried forest, every cycle of growth and fall becomes another page in the coal measures. And though no eye of their age can see it, these layers will endure long after the forests themselves vanish. Long after the giant Lycophytes are gone, long after the swamps dry and continents shift, the coal measures will remain, a vast, silent memory of an age when the earth was wrapped in green. Stand quietly and you can almost hear them, those buried seams humming faintly in the depths, not with noise, but with presence, with the weight of time itself. The coal measures are not simply stone. They are the voices of forests, the whispers of swamps, the breath of a world folded carefully into the earth's keeping. The Carboniferous world is a place of abundance. The air is thick with oxygen, the swamps heavy with green life, the skies filled with shimmering wings, but abundance carries with it a double edge. For just as this air fuels giants, dragonflies with wingspans like hawks, millipedes that ripple longer than a man's body, it also fuels fire. And when fire comes to the Carboniferous forests, it comes with a ferocity unlike anything the modern world has ever seen. Imagine the still swamp at dusk. The air is heavy, humid, almost motionless. The canopy glows faintly as the last rays of sunlight sift through clouds of spores. Amphibians rest in shallow pools, dragonflies hover like living embers in the twilight, and beneath it all, the forest floor is thick with mats of fallen leaves and half-buried trunks. Then, a storm drifts across the sky. Clouds gather, black and heavy. A jagged flash of lightning cracks the air. It strikes the crown of a lycophyte, splintering bark and setting the resin within alight. In that instant, the forest changes. Flames leap upward, quick and ravenous, climbing the dry outer bark like a ladder. Oxygen, rich and abundant, feeds the fire with vigor. The flames roar higher, bursting into the crown where leaves explode into sparks. A second tree catches, then a third. In moments, the swamp is lit with orange, the still waters reflecting a cathedral of flame. The air itself seems alive with fire. Embers dance upward on hot currents, glowing motes carried by the same atmosphere that once sustained spores. Fern fronds crackle, horsetail stems hiss, lycophyte trunks split with sharp reports as the heat drives water from their cores. The sound is overwhelming, an endless rush, a deep roar, a chorus of crackling and snapping. And yet beneath the fury, life does not panic. Amphibians slip into deeper pools, sinking beneath the water where the flames cannot follow. Insects scatter in swarms, their wings flashing in the firelight like shards of glass. Reptiles scuttle across fallen logs, vanishing into burrows at the swamp's edge. For them, fire is no stranger. It comes and goes as surely as storms, a cycle as ancient as the forests themselves. The fires of the Carboniferous are not like the controlled burns of today. They are vast and consuming, sometimes sweeping through entire stretches of forest, leaving behind blackened trunks and ashen soil. But they are also temporary, for these forests are resilient. Within days, shoots push up through the charred remains. Within years, the canopy closes again, green and vibrant, as though the fire had been nothing more than a passing breath. What is left behind, however, becomes part of the greater story. Burned trunks fall into the swamps, charred branches sink into waterlogged silence, ash mingles with peat. Even destruction adds to the layers that will one day become coal. Fire, in this sense, is not only an end, but also a contributor, another hand in the quiet alchemy of time. Stand for a moment at the edge of a Carboniferous fire. The heat licks your skin, the air thick with smoke and glowing embers. The night sky above is painted with orange and gold, a living aurora of flame. It is terrifying, yes, but also beautiful in the way that power always is. You realize that this too is part of the balance. The same oxygen that grants abundance must also grant fire, and in fire, the forest is both undone and renewed. When the flames fade, silence returns. The swamp breathes again, the air heavy with the scent of smoke and damp earth. Blackened trunks stand like sentinels, their crowns gone, their bark split and cracked. But beneath them, the soil is already stirring. Spores drift back on the breeze, seeds settle into ash, amphibians return to their pools, and dragonflies glitter once more in the smoky light. Life resumes, patient and unbroken. The fires of ancient oxygen are fierce, but they are not final. They are moments of intensity within the long rhythm of time, sparks that burn brightly and then pass, leaving behind both scars and gifts. And in the end, even fire serves the same patient keeper, feeding the earth with new layers, fueling the birth of coal, adding another page to the hidden story of the Carboniferous swamps. After the roar of flame, after the storms and the floods, the forest returns to its quiet rhythm. Green shoots rise from the ash, spores drift once more through shafts of light, amphibians croak in shaded pools, and dragonflies shimmer like sparks in the still air. Life resumes, unbroken, as if nothing could ever end its steady pulse. And beneath it all, unseen, the earth continues her deepest work, the long, quiet burial of forests into stone. Picture the ground beneath your feet. At the surface, it is soft with moss, roots, and fallen leaves. But a few feet down it changes, peat, dark and spongy, layered with roots and branches pressed together. Beneath that still deeper lie older layers, lignite, coal, stone. Each one is a chapter, each one a memory of forests that once breathed, once sang, once stretched their crowns toward the sun. The surface may feel alive and fleeting, but below lies permanence, a library written in carbon. This burial is not sudden. It is not the violence of fire, nor the crash of falling trees, nor the rush of storms. It is slow, steady, and patient. Year after year, century after century, leaves fall, trunks sink, sediments cover, weight presses. The swamp itself is the scribe, writing in silence, writing with patience, never hurrying, never pausing. Imagine the passing of time in vast sweeps. A forest rises, it breathes, it flourishes, it falls. Its remains sink, are covered, and are pressed. Above it, another forest grows, repeating the cycle. Each one leaves its trace in the earth, and each burial folds those traces deeper. You could stand here for 1,000 lifetimes and see only the surface, but if you could peel back the layers of the earth, you would see a staircase of forests, each one preserved in coal, stretching backward into ages beyond imagination. The long burial transforms more than the forest itself. The land changes too. Rivers shift their courses, laying down new sediments. Mountains rise in the distance, crumbling slowly to dust that drifts into the swamps. Seas advance and retreat, leaving layers of shale and limestone above the coal. The burial is not simply vertical, but a weaving of landscapes into one another, a quilt of time that covers the earth. Close your eyes and listen. There is no sound of this work, no rumble, no grinding. The burial is quieter than silence, and yet, if you pay attention, you can almost hear it, not with your ears, but with your imagination. The faint hiss of water being pressed out of peat, the soft crack of bark yielding under weight, the deep, slow sigh of the earth folding forests into herself. There is a coziness in this patience, a comfort in knowing that nothing is wasted. The trees may fall, the leaves may sink, but their essence is not lost. It is carried downward, reshaped, preserved. The forest becomes the earth, and the earth keeps it safe. In every seam of coal, in every blackened layer, there is memory, sunlight turned to stone, life turned to energy, time turned to permanence. This is the long, quiet burial, not an end, but a transformation, not destruction, but preservation. The swamps do not simply vanish, they are remembered, pressed into the bones of the earth, waiting in silence for a future they cannot know. Stand here in the Carboniferous twilight. The air is thick with oxygen, dragonflies sweep above, amphibians stir the water. It feels eternal, alive, unshakable. But beneath you, the long quiet burial continues, weaving this very moment into stone. And one day, long after forests and creatures have passed, this memory will remain, a hidden ember glowing in the heart of the earth. Beneath your feet, deep under the swamps of the Carboniferous, the forests continue their quiet transformation. Layer upon layer of peat is pressed into lignite, lignite into bituminous coal, and coal into shining anthracite. The earth works with patience, reshaping abundance into stone, sealing sunlight into seams of black. To the dragonflies above, to the amphibians in the pools, to the reptiles creeping between roots, this work means nothing. The forests breathe, the swamps whisper, the creatures live their lives unaware. Yet within these buried seams lies a destiny no creature of this age could imagine. For these forests will not remain hidden forever. They are more than memory. They are fuel waiting for a spark. The sunlight captured by lycophytes and ferns, the carbon fixed by leaves and bark, the oxygen exhaled into the sky, all of it is stored here, compressed into black stone. Every seam of coal is a time capsule of energy, a reservoir of fire waiting in silence. One day, hundreds of millions of years from now, when continents have shifted and mountains have risen and fallen, When the forests above are long gone and new creatures rule the earth, these seams will be found. And in their finding, civilizations will rise. Close your eyes and imagine a human hand, countless ages from now, reaching into the earth and pulling free a lump of coal. To them it is fuel, a way to kindle a fire, to boil water, to forge iron, to drive engines, to light entire cities. But to you, standing here in the Carboniferous, you know it is more. That black stone is a forest, a swamp, a summer day in a world long vanished. It is sunlight that once filtered through fern fronds, now glowing again as flame in a distant future hearth. The warmth of a coal fire in a human dwelling, its glow on the walls, its sparks in the dark, its heat easing the chill of winter, is the warmth of these very swamps. The roar of a locomotive, wheels churning on rails, steam billowing into the air, is the roar of ancient forests transformed. The humming lights of cities, the pulse of industry, the spread of machines, all are powered by the breath and body of Carboniferous trees. It is a destiny both wondrous and bittersweet. Wondrous because the forests live on not as fossils to be forgotten, but as energy to be used, as warmth, as movement, as fire carried forward into the story of the world. Bittersweet because the gift is not endless. These seams so vast are also finite. They were written once in this age and will never be written again. The buried forests give everything they have, and once given, they cannot be replaced. For now, though none of this is known, the amphibians still croak at dusk, the dragonflies still glint in the sun, the forests still breathe and fall, breathe and fall. Coal is born in silence, its destiny hidden in the deep. But you, with the eyes of time, can glimpse it. You can feel the weight of its promise. You can hear the faint echo of future fires already crackling in its seams. The swamps of the Carboniferous do not simply create coal. They create the fuel of civilizations yet unborn. They are writing, line by line, the energy of tomorrow, pressing forests into stone so that one day, long after their leaves are gone, their gift will burn again. The Carboniferous forests are lush, endless, and full of life. They breathe abundance into the sky, feed countless creatures on the ground, and stretch their canopies across swamps like living cathedrals. But even as they build, as they exhale, as they weave the air with oxygen and the earth with green, they are also vanishing. Piece by piece, layer by layer, they fall into silence, sinking into waterlogged pools and vanishing beneath the silt of time. What remains on the surface is vibrant, shimmering, alive. But beneath, the forests are already becoming shadows of themselves. A fallen Lycophyte, once 30 meters tall, lies softened and hollowed, its bark collapsing under pressure. A mat of fern fronds, once brilliant green, is pressed into dark, indistinct mass. A horsetail grove, once tall and gleaming in the sun, is reduced to vague outlines in peat. The forest above is eternal to its own eyes, but to time it is fleeting. There is no tragedy in this, no sudden ruin. It is not destruction like fire, not the devastation of a storm. It is gentler, quieter, and fading into memory. The forests give themselves freely, their matter sliding into water, their shapes into darkness. And in that surrender they create something new. Still, there is an ache, a quiet melancholy in realizing that what once towered above the swamps is now hidden, lost from sight, dissolved into the embrace of the earth. You can feel it if you stand still enough. The presence of what is gone, humming faintly in the silence of the swamps. A shadow song of trees that no longer stand, of branches that once caught the sun, of leaves that once whispered in the breeze. Their voices are quiet now, but not gone. They linger, imprinted in seams of coal, etched in the stone pages of the earth's deep book. And yet not all is preserved. Some memories fade entirely, lost to decay or carried away by floodwaters. Not every leaf becomes coal, not every trunk survives burial. Many vanish without trace, their presence dissolved, their stories untold. These are the true shadows of what was lost, life that leaves no fossil, no seam, no evidence. Life that existed and passed, and only silence remembers. It is a reminder that deep time is not only a story of abundance, but also of impermanence. That what we see, even in an age of endless green, is only part of the picture. That beneath the grandeur, beneath the stillness, there are absences as well. Shadows cast not by what is present, but by what is missing. And yet there is comfort too. For though the forests fall, though their forms are lost, their essence remains in the coal seams, in the oxygen-rich skies, in the creatures that grow and flourish because of them. The shadows remind us that loss is also transformation, that absence can be as powerful as presence, that memory can live on, even when the body has vanished. Stand quietly in the swamp and let your eyes wander upward to the canopy, then downward to the dark water. Above, the forests still stand. Below, they are gone. Between the two lies the truth of deep time, that life builds, fades, and builds again, that shadows and light are woven together into the same story, that every forest, no matter how vast, will one day be remembered not for what it is, but for what it left behind. In the hush of the Carboniferous, you feel both awe and tenderness. The shadows of what was lost are everywhere, hidden beneath your feet. And though they are gone, they remain part of the Earth's great memory, written not in color and form, but in coal, in stone, in the silent patience of time. Imagine yourself standing not in the swamps of the Carboniferous, but in the present, millions upon millions of years later. The forests are gone, the dragonflies reduced to smaller kin, the Lycophytes to mere shadows of their former grandeur. The great swamps have dried, folded, and shifted into mountains, valleys, and plains, and yet their presence remains, waiting for you to discover it. Bend down, and in your hand you hold a lump of coal. To the unknowing eye, it is only a piece of dark stone, black, rough, unassuming. But to those who listen with the ear of time, it is a relic, a fragment of a vanished world. Within its weight lies the memory of forests so vast they spanned continents. Within its sheen lies the captured light of the long-extinguished sun. Within its texture lies the quiet work of eons, pressing leaves and trunks into permanence. Hold it closer and notice how it feels. Smooth in some places, jagged in others, cool to the touch, yet strangely alive with presence. Rub your thumb across its surface, and you may see a faint glimmer, a glossy streak where light catches. That shine is not merely mineral, it is ancient life compressed into brilliance, forests distilled into black crystal. If you are lucky, your piece of coal might still carry whispers of its origins. Perhaps the faint outline of a fern, its fronds etched delicately into the surface. Perhaps the impression of bark, patterned in diamonds like the trunks of Lycophytes. Each mark is a signature, a message from a world 300 million years gone. To hold coal is to hold a page from the Earth's hidden book, written not in ink, but in the language of stone. Now close your eyes and imagine. This small, heavy lump once rose high above a swamp, swaying in the humid air, exhaling oxygen into a sky thick with breath. It cast shadows across amphibians resting in pools. It shimmered in the light of dragonflies with wings like glass. It fell, sank, and was buried. It transformed in darkness, pressed by time until it became the very thing you hold now. That ember of stone in your hand is a forest, a swamp, a world. There is something profoundly cozy in this thought, that you can sit by a fire, watch coal glow with deep red heat, and know that you are watching the light of ancient suns, the warmth of ancient summers, released again into the present. The crackle of coal is the crackle of bark that once split in carboniferous storms. The flame is the resurrection of leaves that once caught the dawn. Each spark is memory, each ember a story carried forward into your own time. Coal is not just fuel, it is a connection. It is the touch of the present to the deep past, the bridge between the warmth of your hearth and the green abundance of the Carboniferous. To hold it is to hold the past itself, compact, dense, and enduring. And as you turn the piece over in your palm, you realize something simple but profound. The past is never truly gone. It lingers, waiting, ready to be discovered in the most ordinary of objects. A black stone, cold in your hand, is in truth a memory of forests without end, of swamps that whispered in stillness, of lives both great and small that surrendered themselves to time. To hold coal is to hold time itself, and in that weight, in that cool, quiet surface, the story of the earth rests, waiting for you to listen. The Carboniferous forests are long gone. Their trunks no longer rise into emerald canopies, their fronds no longer shimmer with dew, their dragonflies no longer hum in shafts of golden light. Yet their presence endures, pressed into stone, exhaled into air, remembered not in living green, but in the seams of black coal hidden deep beneath the earth. What remains is not absence, but a gift, one so profound that it has touched every age since. The first gift is oxygen. In their unceasing breath, the forests of the Carboniferous transformed the sky itself. They exhaled abundance, saturating the air with life-giving gas, allowing creatures to grow large, to experiment, to thrive. That oxygen would shape not only their world but all that followed, making possible the rise of reptiles, the age of dinosaurs, the spread of mammals, and much later, the story of humankind. Every breath you take carries within it the legacy of those ancient swamps. Their breath still lingers, invisible and eternal. The second gift is coal. Forest after forest, layer upon layer, pressed and buried, transformed into seams of stone that lie beneath continents. In those seams is sunlight, stored and sealed, waiting to be released again. Humanity, millions of years later, would discover this hidden treasury and unlock its fire. From hearths to locomotives, from iron forges to sprawling cities, coal became the backbone of industry, the spark of revolutions, the pulse of progress. For better and for worse, the forests of the Carboniferous gave themselves to the future, fueling entire civilizations with their hidden ember. The third gift is memory, for in coal, in stone, in fossils etched into rock, the Carboniferous is not forgotten. Its forests may be gone, its creatures vanished, its swamps long since dried, but their traces remain. Every fern fossil, every bark impression, every gleaming seam of anthracite tells the story of abundance, of transformation, of deep time's patient artistry. To study them, to hold them, is to step into a memory so vast that it dwarfs the span of human history. The Carboniferous whispers still through the very bones of the earth. And perhaps the greatest gift of all is the lesson that life is not wasted, that even in falling, in fading, in vanishing, the forests gave something back. That time, though it may seem cruel in its erasure, also preserves, transforms, and carries forward. The Carboniferous reminds us that the world is built on cycles, growth, fall, burial, transformation, and that every cycle adds something to the great story of the earth. Stand here one last time in the imagination of the Carboniferous swamp. The air is heavy, the canopy endless, the water still. Dragonflies shimmer above, amphibians stir the pools, reptiles scuttle through moss. The forests breathe as they always have. You know now that their breath, their bodies, their shadows will one day become gifts to ages they cannot see. They do not know the future, but they give to it freely. And so the Carboniferous passes, not as a forgotten age, but as a benefactor. Its swamps left us air to breathe, stone to burn, and memories to cherish. Its forests surrendered themselves to time so that life could continue, so that civilizations could rise, so that we might one day sit by the glow of a coal fire and feel the warmth of ancient suns. The lasting gift of the Carboniferous is not simply coal, nor oxygen, nor memory. It is the reminder that the earth keeps nothing for herself. Everything is shared, transformed, passed forward. The forests gave their all, and in doing so, they became eternal. Now, as our journey through the Carboniferous swamps draws to a close, imagine yourself seated by a quiet fire. The flames rise and fall, their orange glow dancing against the walls, their warmth wrapping you in comfort. You reach out and place another piece of coal onto the embers, and it catches with a hiss and a crackle. The sound is soft but alive, like the whisper of bark splitting, like the sigh of leaves falling. That ember you hold, that glowing coal, is not just fuel. It is a memory. It is a fragment of a forest that once swayed in humid breezes 300 million years ago. It is a lycophyte that soared into the sky, a fern that spread its feathery fronds, a swamp floor thick with moss and roots. It is dragonflies shimmering like jewels, amphibians croaking at dusk, reptiles taking their first cautious steps on land. It is sunlight captured by leaves, buried in silence, pressed into stone, and now released again into the night air. Every spark that rises from the fire is a piece of that world set free. Every crackle is a voice from the Carboniferous, whispering through time. The warmth that touches your skin is the warmth of ancient summers, carried across millions of years to meet you here. The coal does not simply burn, it remembers, and in burning, it shares its memory with you. Think of what the forests gave: oxygen to fill the skies, coal to fuel civilizations, fossils to tell their stories, lessons about cycles, about patience, about transformation. They gave without knowing, without hesitation, and in giving they became eternal. They are gone, yet they are everywhere, woven into the very air you breathe, the warmth you feel, the world you live in. As you gaze into the fire, let the thoughts settle over you like a blanket. You are connected to that ancient world. The light before you is the same light that once filtered through fern canopies. The heat that comforts you is the same energy that once powered forests without end. The embers glow not only with warmth, but with memory. The Carboniferous swamps may be gone, their giants toppled, their pools dried, their dragonflies reduced to smaller forms. But their legacy lingers. Their embers burn on, not only in coal fires, but in every breath of oxygen, in every fossil traced with a fingertip, in every lesson about time's patience. They remind us that nothing is truly lost, that all is transformed, carried forward, woven into the Earth's great story. And so, as the last sparks drift upward, as the coals settle into a steady glow, you sit back and let the warmth hold you. Outside, night gathers. Inside, the embers hum with ancient memory. The forests of the Carboniferous live on, not in towering trunks or swaying fronds, but in the firelight before you, in the air around you, in the story you now carry with you. Every ember is a memory of an ancient world. Every flicker is a gift of deep time. And as the fire burns low, you realize the Carboniferous is not gone. It lives still in the embers of an ancient world.